So Adobe keeps adding new AI models, Nano Banana, Flux, Firefly, and they all behave a little differently. So instead of doing another comparison video, I think I'm going to show you which models work best for different workflows, and when you might want to choose one over the other. I'll also show a few examples where the same prompt produces very different results, depending on the model. And the easiest place to experiment with all these models is Firefly Boards, because you can see your images side by side and quickly test variations. Also, all the latest models are on Firefly Boards first, before they get to the other Adobe products. If you're new to Firefly Boards, I have a quick 2-minute guide that walks you through it. Let's start with brand consistency. One way to keep your product images fresh is by changing the environment around them while keeping the product the same. Here I started with a studio product image of these hiking boots. Let's say my client wants more images of the product but in different scenes. Here's how to do it. First, I generated a forest scene using Firefly 4. Firefly 4 really does work for really basic images. Then I use Flux Kontext Max, loading both the studio image of the boots and the forest scene as reference images. In my prompt, I included instructions to keep the product design, texture, and color of the boots the same, while matching the lighting of the environment. Flux is great at prompt adherence, so it didn't stray. You can also create lifestyle variations from an existing image. Here I started with a lifestyle photo of a hiker and used the Vary option in Firefly Boards and chose more like this to generate multiple similar images. It comes up with 16 altogether, so you have lots to choose from. Then I chose an image I liked and used Flux 2 Pro with the studio product image as a reference. Then I swapped the shoes in the image, so they're wearing the product instead. Flux 2 Pro really works well here because it keeps the product consistent across different images, scenes, and angles. Next, let's create a product mockup. I used a simple prompt to generate a soda can flying through the air with fruit and juice splashing around it. Nano Banana 2 did a great job with this. It generated the label text correctly, created a dramatic position, and positioned the fruit and splashes naturally around the can. It somehow knew already exactly what I wanted. Some of the other models struggled either with the fruit placement or the label text. I also tried creating a similar image using Firefly 4. Firefly 4 produced a nice product image, but it didn't generate the label text and the composition stayed more static. Even after modifying the prompt, it didn't create the same dynamic position. I just couldn't get it to look like it was flying through the air. So for product mockups that include text and dramatic composition, Nano Banana 2 worked really well and required much less prompt tweaking. Now let's look at creating cinematic scenes out of regular images. For this example, I started with a studio portrait of a woman I made with Firefly 4. Then I used Flux 2 Pro to add her into a cinematic street scene. Flux is really good at maintaining the subject, in this case the woman, while dramatically changing the environment she's in and the lighting. You can also experiment with different styles using Firefly Boards presets. It's a great resource. Next, I modified the image using Nano Banana 2. I changed the scene to nighttime, added colorful neon street signs, and removed her sunglasses. I chose Nano Banana 2 here because it tends to generate readable text that can appear in the scene, like signs, which can be difficult for other models to render. I also prompted it to keep her facial features and hair the same, so she wouldn't turn into a completely different person, which is something Nano Banana 2 often does. Then I edited it once more to add some colorful lighting effects. For this next example, I started with an editorial portrait image. I ran a quick comparison using the same prompt for dramatic lighting. Flux and Nano interpreted that prompt very differently. Nano created a lighting blend more natural with the environment, while Flux created a stronger contrast and dramatic lighting on the face. It's a good reminder that the same prompt can produce very different results, depending on the model. Finally, let's look at editing images. Editing can be a powerful process, generating something new from something basic. Here I started with a studio shot of an athlete generated in Firefly 4. Because the original lighting was studio lighting, I used Flux Kontext Max to move her into an outdoor running track scene and adjust the lighting to match the environment. I also prompted it to adjust her pose to match the scene. Flux Kontext Max works well here because it follows the prompt closely without getting too creative. Then I used Firefly 5 to make a more specific edit, changing the color of her running outfit. Firefly 5 works really well for precise image edits like color changes. I also tried another example with a product image. This shampoo bottle was generated with Firefly 4, but the label wasn't readable. So I used Flux 2 Pro to update the label and make the text clearer while keeping the bottle as the focus. Then I used Flux Kontext Max to change the color of the bottle using an image of a color reference. Flux Kontext Max tends to adhere very well to color references, which makes it useful for branding adjustments. Lastly, here's a quick model cheat sheet. With Flux 2 Pro, you get dramatic contrast, high saturation lighting, and a strong subject focus. With Flux Kontext Max, you get strong prompt adherence. It keeps reference colors and lighting consistent. It's good for controlled edits without getting too creative. With Nano Banana 2, you get more cohesive scene lighting, lighting the subject and the scene together, readable text, and creative editing. With Firefly 5, you get precise targeted edits, great for simple changes like color swaps. Once you understand what each model is good at, you can start combining them into your own workflows. And that's really where these tools become powerful, not just using one model, but choosing the right one for the job.